He stepped toward the counter again. 6 people waiting. 1 barista working. The entire shop drowned in that quiet, sleepy tension of early morning. And yet, he still walked right past all of us, like he was royalty and we were just props. But today I moved faster. I stepped out of the line, blocked his path, and smiled politely before asking the barista, "Could you walk me through every single milk option you have, slowly?" The room froze. The entitled guy blinked like his brain couldn't process what was happening. Today, his game ended. And hey, if you've ever had to deal with someone who acted like basic, rules didn't apply to them. Hit that like button. Because what you're about to hear is one of the most unexpectedly satisfying, slow-burn revenge stories I've ever told. The story starts in a small cafe in a quiet American town. Not a big chain, not a fancy spot. Just a cozy corner coffee shop where people actually knew each other's morning orders. My name's Evan, and I work a demanding job in logistics. Every morning, before dealing with emails, schedules, angry clients, and impossible deadlines, I get coffee from this shop. It's my ritual, my sanity, my tiny slice of peace before the chaos of the day hits. Every morning the shop has a small, predictable line, 5 or 6 tired adults, all silently bonded by exhaustion and caffeine dependence. Nobody complains. Nobody talks much. We just exist together, half-conscious, waiting for that life-saving first sip. But one person destroyed that calm. His name, I later found out, was Brandon Cole. But everyone in that coffee shop knew him as something else. That guy who cuts the line every damn morning. Picture this. Tall, expensive shoes, slicked back hair, and that permanent smirk plastered across his face. The kind of smirk that tells you he's never waited for anything in his life. He walked into the coffee shop with the energy of a man who believed the building was built specifically for him. Every single morning, he'd enter, glance at the line, tilt his head like he was confused why peasants were blocking his path, then snap, a fake realization. He'd gasp softly, press a hand to his chest, then walk right past all of us and say, "Oh, hey, I just have a quick question," and then ask something absolutely ridiculous like, "What size is the medium again? Do you guys have water? What's, in a black coffee?" The barista, a sweet girl named Nicole, always answered politely because she was too nice and too tired to fight. And once he was up there, he'd just order, like the line didn't exist, like we didn't exist. And every time, the people in line gave each other the same silent, irritated look and that universal, "I hate this guy, but I'm too tired to deal with this at 7 a.m. expression. I felt my jaw tighten every single time, but nobody did anything. Because honestly, morning confrontation is exhausting. I kept telling myself, it's not worth it. Let it go. You're an adult. Don't start drama at a coffee shop. But each time Brandon cut ahead, I felt a little spark of irritation hit my chest. A small punch of disrespect. There's something deeply infuriating about people who believe the rules don't apply to them. People who look at a line and think, not me, I'm special. And after the 4th time I watched him do it, the spark inside me didn't fade. It grew. It became a fire. A slow, steady burn inside my ribs. I wasn't just annoyed anymore. I was done. It was a Wednesday, painfully early, brutally cold. And my brain felt like it was made of wet cement. I walked inside the coffee shop, joined the line, and rubbed my hands together for warmth. That's when I saw him. Brandon, walking in, shoulders back. That stupid confidence lighting up his face. He made eye contact with the line, and I watched it in slow motion. His eyes flicked toward the counter. His lips curled into a familiar smirk. His body turned ever so slightly. He was about to do it again. And right then, something clicked inside me. A cold, calm switch flipped. My pulse steadied. My breathing slowed. My mind sharpened. I whispered to myself, "Not today, buddy." The moment he started walking toward the counter, I stepped out of the line and glided in front of him, like I'd rehearsed it 100 times. He froze mid-step. Then for the first time in my life, I saw Brandon look confused. The barista looked up and smiled gently. "Hi, what can I—" I cut her off politely with the sweetest tone I could muster. "Oh, I just had a few questions." Brandon blinked. His eyebrows shot up. His mouth hung slightly open. I wasn't being rude. I wasn't aggressive. I was simply playing his own game. Better. I asked, "Could you explain the difference between a latte and a cappuccino again? I always forget." Nicole nodded and started explaining the foam-to-milk ratio. The brewing process, the differences in texture. I listened. I nodded. I pretended to care deeply. Behind me? Brandon exhaled sharply, but I didn't stop. I added, "Do you have oat milk? What about almond soy? In your opinion, which one froths best? Be honest." Nicole, patient angel that she was, answered every question. Brandon? He kept shifting his weight from foot to foot like the floor was burning hot. After dragging it out long enough, I delivered the perfect ending. Oh, actually, let me get back in line and think about it. I turned, walked past him, and got back into my original spot. The other customers were smiling, and Brandon, he stood there stunned, humiliated, not sure whether to speak or crawl into a hole. The game had officially started. The moment he backed into the line, defeated, humiliated, silently fuming, something shifted in the air. You could feel it. That subtle, electric ripple that runs through a crowd when justice finally balances itself out. Even in the smallest way. Nobody said a word. Nobody clapped, nobody cheered. But the looks? Oh, the looks were priceless. A woman in a navy blazer bit the inside of her cheek to keep from laughing. The guy behind me raised his eyebrows like he'd just watched someone slip on a banana peel in slow motion. Even the barista, bless her exhausted morning soul, blinked twice like she'd just witnessed some rare cosmic event. But the man who had been cutting the line for days, he stood stiff, trying to pretend nothing unusual had happened, even though his ears had gone slightly pink. And pink ears never lie. For the rest of that morning, he avoided eye contact with everyone. He stared at the floor, then at the ceiling, then at the menu, anywhere except the people he had been stepping over for nearly a week. When it was finally his turn to order, he cleared his throat and tried to puff himself up again, like he was reclaiming some invisible throne. Medium latte, he muttered. The barista nodded, completely neutral. Not rude, not warm, just professionally tired. He took his drink without a word and marched out, spilling a few drops on the floor because his hand was shaking slightly. Rage does that. Embarrassment too. And losing control? That hits the hardest. As he left, I watched through the foggy storefront window. He didn't look back. Not once. But I knew. He felt every single set of eyes on his back. Small victory? Sure. But the thing about entitled people is they don't learn their lesson on the first slap. They need consistency. They need patterns. They need to be trained back into normal society, like wild animals that wandered too far into human spaces. And I was ready. The next morning, the sky was clear. Birds chirped. The air smelled like fresh dew. But inside that coffee shop, it still smelled like confrontation waiting to happen. I arrived at my usual time, sliding into line behind a tall guy in a grey hoodie. People shuffled in behind me. The usual quiet morning murmur filled the space. Then the door chimed, and he walked in. Same expensive jacket, same polished hair, same smug aura, just slightly cracked from yesterday. He saw the line. He hesitated. For a moment, a tiny, fragile moment, thought maybe he had learned. But then his jaw set. His shoulders squared. He was going to try it again, like a kid touching a hot stove for the second time. Convinced this time it wouldn't burn, he inhaled, preparing for his stupid little performance. I was already moving. I stepped out of line again, smooth and quick, like I'd rehearsed it in a mirror. He froze mid-word, blinking, not expecting me to counterattack twice. I reached the counter before him. The barista recognized me. Another question? She asked, amused but trying to hide it. I flashed the same innocent smile. Yeah, sorry. Just a quick one. He stood behind me, shoulders tense. He didn't even pretend to look casual this time. He stared at me like I had just stolen his parking spot in a storm. And oh, it was delicious. Okay, I began, tapping my chin lightly. So yesterday we talked about lattes and cappuccinos. The barista nodded politely. He groaned, loud and dramatic. I ignored him completely. But today I just need to understand. What's the exact temperature you steam your milk at? The barista blinked. Well, it depends on... I leaned forward like this was the most fascinating topic in the universe. And how long do you usually let your espresso pull? Like, is there a range? Or do you time it down to the second? Behind me, he shifted impatiently, the fabric of his jacket making sharp, annoyed rustling sounds. People in line were already smiling into their cups. This was becoming a show. A ritual. A morning entertainment segment called Watch Entitled Guy Slowly Lose His Grip on Reality. But I still wasn't done. I placed my hand dramatically over my heart. Sorry, one last thing. Do your muffins have blueberries or, like, a blueberry flavoring? The barista seriously contemplated her answer, explaining properties of fresh blueberries versus infused flavor. I nodded along thoughtfully, letting the seconds tick away, letting him burn, letting the universe balance itself. Finally, after another long, theatrical pause, I said, You know what? I should think about that. Thanks so much. And I stepped back into line. The guy behind me whispered, Dude, you're my hero. I didn't respond. I just smiled, because the best revenge isn't loud. It's not public screaming or dramatic confrontations. It's quiet, calculated, repeated, like dripping water carving canyons into rock. He didn't step forward this time. He didn't even try. He just stared at the floor, defeated again. The barista glanced at him, a single eyebrow raised. He hesitated. Then in the smallest voice, "I'll wait in line." A few people snickered. He clenched his jaw. And that was the moment. The exact moment I felt the shift. He wasn't just irritated now. He was humiliated. Humiliation is powerful. It's the emotion that sticks to your ribs. It's the one that reroutes your habits. It rewires you. He ordered quietly when it was his turn. Didn't make eye contact. Didn't speak more than necessary. He left quickly. The next morning, I arrived a little later than usual. When I entered the shop, he was already there. Standing in line. Not at the counter. Not pretending. Not performing. Just waiting. Like everyone else. No theatrics. No fake questions. No smirk. His hands were in his pockets. He stared straight ahead. Calm. Silent. He had been retrained by society. By karma. By a little reverse psychology espresso. And the best part? He never tried to cut again. Not that day. Not the next. Not the entire week. He became just another tired morning human, waiting for his caffeine like everyone else. Balance restored. Chaos ended. Peace reclaimed. All with a few questions and a well-timed performance. The next morning, the tension in the air was thick enough to choke on. Eric woke up to a house that felt unnervingly quiet. Too quiet for what was coming. Across town, Mia was already in motion. She stepped out of her car, her eyes sharp with purpose, the cold morning sun reflecting off her determination. Today wasn't just another day. Today was the day everything snapped into place. Inside the office, Eric strutted in like he owned the place. Just like always, like rules didn't apply to him. Like everyone else was supposed to bow to his ego. He had no clue his world was minutes away from collapsing. Mia walked straight into the conference room, placed her tablet on the table, and connected it to the big screen. Her hands didn't shake. Her voice didn't waver. She was done being quiet. When Eric walked in and saw her standing there with the entire senior team, already seated, something in his smile cracked for just a moment. "What's going on?" he asked, trying to mask the sudden flicker of fear. Mia didn't answer. She didn't need to. The screen lit up. Emails, screenshots, audio clips, time-stamped files. Every manipulation, every lie, every power move he thought he'd buried. All of it laid bare. The room went silent, not a breath, not a whisper. Eric's face turned pale. You set me up," he stammered. Mia's eyes locked onto his. "No," she said calmly. "You set yourself up. I just stopped pretending you didn't." The HR director closed her laptop with finality. "We'll be escorting you out." Eric's voice cracked. This can't." But the security team was already standing behind him. For the first time, he wasn't the one in control. He wasn't the loudest voice in the room. He wasn't the untouchable force he pretended to be. He was just exposed. As they walked him out, he looked back at Mia, angry, defeated, humiliated. But she didn't flinch. Not even once. Because deep down, he knew this wasn't about revenge for the sake of revenge. This was justice, and justice, when delivered by the person you underestimated the most. Hits different. Outside the building, Eric was left standing on the sidewalk. Jobless, powerless, stunned. Meanwhile, Mia walked out the front doors, the sunlight hitting her like a spotlight. She wasn't smiling. She wasn't celebrating. She was simply free. And sometimes, that's the most satisfying ending you can get. Thank you for watching till the end. Your time means more than you know.